So you're shopping for a BMW or an Audi? You want a premium German sedan or a coupe? I'm going to share with you why you probably want to buy a BMW before you buy the Audi. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with exoticcarplayplace, and what are the pros and cons of both brands and what would make you decide to pick one or the other. We're going to compare all the major facets of each car brand, and then you can make a decision at the end, and I'm going to explain to you what I believe I would purchase and for what reason. So first of all, let's start with the exterior styling of both cars. Of course, when we talk about BMW, if you look at a lot of, particularly the M cars, the BMWs are a lot edgier. There's a lot more aggression going on there. Yeah, sure, Audis a lot of times have the big open spoilers and whatnot, but BMW is a lot more prominent, more big aggressive spoilers, more vents, and generally speaking, more creases and other accents all over the car. Where the Audi generally is a little bit understated. Great styling, very attractive cars, of course, very beautiful in the Audi world, just slightly understated, slightly more conservative, unless you get into the really aggressive models. You know, say for example an R8 or an RS7, you're going to find yourself with a car that is a little bit more conservative than the BMW. Now on styling, I mean, they both have benefits, and we can talk about the fact that they both have great unique body styles in different versions. I mean, they each bring something sort of unique. And I'll give you some examples. Audi, for example, has the wonderful R8, the A7, RS7, of course, with that unique back end, that style, that chopped off back end, which kind of gives a really unique style. You know, coupled that with the aggressive front spoiler. And of course, one of my favorites in the Audi world is the TTRS, which is an extremely quick little car that I got a chance to review a couple of years back. I really loved it. It's a sweetheart of an engine with that 2.5 liter turbocharged 5-cylinder engine. Makes great sounds and goes like there's no tomorrow. So there's great cars by Audi in terms of the styling, the stout look, and the aggression there. BMW, on the other hand, has some unique styling cars too, such as the i8, the i3, and the M4 GTS, which is a hardcore, die-hard track wrecking machine. The BMW, first of all, has a very high quality interior, fit and finish. There's a lot of great materials, particularly in the upper scale versions like the M cars. You get a lot of great, nice, soft touch materials. The switchgear is very nice, high quality. And overall, it gives a very, very, very sturdy feel to it. That being said, BMWs have a little bit of an outdated look to them. And honestly, up until about 2018 here, and now, of course, the new restyle, it's finally changed. But a lot of the BMWs still only had analog gauges. The old school gauges. And I know a lot of you guys, don't hate me for it. They're great. I mean, an analog gauge is classic. And of course, it works better in bright sunlight. However, it's still the old tech. And Audi has moved massively ahead, leaps and bounds, several years ahead of BMW. The downside with the BMW interiors, though, unfortunately, now are, the interiors, you get the linear dashboard, which a lot of people like it, but in a lot of cases it's slightly bland, in my opinion. As well as, also in my opinion, the iDrive display, the way that they stuck it right in the middle of the dashboard tells me like it's more of an after effect, an afterthought. They didn't really plan that one out very well. You can't make it go away. It's fixed there. It's situated. And this is where it sort of puts BMW behind Audi in terms of, Audi's technology advancements. And that moves us to Audi. When we talk about Audi brand versus the BMW, there's no question in my mind the Audi has the premium interior. The interior, there's just something about it. It's just a little bit upscale from the BMWs. The interior materials are a little bit nicer. There's even less use of cheaper plastics in certain spots. They have a much better interface system where you can either toggle between the dashboard right in the gauge cluster, or you can pop up the display in the middle of the dash. But the beauty is the middle of the dash, you can make that thing disappear in a lot of these Audis nowadays. So it doesn't become the eyesore that the BMW sort of displays in the middle of the dash. And that really moves us into the whole discussion about the user interface. The Audi one is definitely leagues ahead of the iDrive system. Even though BMW sort of led the charge in terms of interfaces, way back when they first came out with their iDrive system, they were one of the first to come out with that type of concept. And, it was just like Audi to basically take from that, build on it, and make it much better. It's a cleaner, more easily operated system. And of course, it's just in generally more advanced, more refined than the BMWs. And then we talk about another one of the key ingredients, and it's performance. Where the BMW comes in is the fact that BMW creates engines sort of unique for that car. They design the engine based on what they want for that car's dynamics. It's unique, it's original, and they really focus on that drivetrain. They're more precise. And a lot of the engines and powertrains coming into the BMW cars, particularly the M cars, are, in my mind, a little bit more worked out in the sense of the design, the delicacy, and the performance, the sound tends to come a little bit more, it tends to be a little sharper in the BMWs. And you want some examples? How about the wonderful McLaren F1 with that glorious V12 motor that they lent to McLaren? That, designed in-house by BMW, that was still one of the best engines of all time, as well as the E60 M5. Now, there's arguments to be talked about reliability, but in the sense of an engineering masterpiece and the sounds and the 8,300 RPM red line that's Formula One derived, there's nothing like it. And so BMW, there's no question in my mind, creates drivetrains that are the primary focus of their car, not the other way around. Now, Audi, on the other hand, because they steal a lot of the parts from the Volkswagen bin, a lot of the drivetrains are a little bit more generic. Now, that doesn't always mean it's bad. What that does mean is often the drivetrains can be quite robust, well sorted, and you'll have less issues, generally speaking. As well, a lot of the Audi drivetrains sound spectacularly good. How about the V8 R8 engine? That is an awesome drivetrain with that 4.2 liter V8 that they shoehorn in a lot of their cars. They've used them in the R8 and some of the, the RS4s, RS5s, things like that. They've used that wonderful, glorious 4.2 liter V8, which is not only reliable, not only powerful, but extremely great sounding and a lot of fun to operate. But it's not just about the 4.2. In Audi, they also use some great engines like that 2.5 liter 5-cylinder turbocharged engine that they shoehorn into some of their cars like the RS3s, the TTRS. As I mentioned before, with that TTRS, it is magnificently quick, and with a power to weight ratio that car produces, it is exceptionally fun to drive. And it's an awesome drivetrain, that 2.5 liter. As well, engines that you'll find in even some of the S models, the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that they share with the Volkswagen. For example, the 2 liter 4-cylinder that produces 300 horsepower. That is a lot of power out of that displacement. So great technology there for sure, shared between Volkswagen and Audi. How about the wonderful RS7? That thing is phenomenally fast. And up until the most recent M5, that thing would dominate over just about any luxury sedan on the market. With its performance and all-wheel drive, sure handling capabilities, it was just a ruthless machine. It could do everything for you, the RS7. Sure, it wasn't cheap, but it did a lot of great things. Awesome machines. And then we talk about the last major topic, street credibility. Audi, we talk about some of the Audis. I think back to the 5000s and the 5000 turbos, and all I can think of is honestly, that's what comes to mind. So Audi, up until they got into rallying, really had nothing to talk about in terms of their older cars. They were hideous, they were disgusting, they were unreliable, and quite frankly, there was nothing about them that made me want to buy an Audi back in the day. Things have changed dramatically. Audi got their shit together, and they finally started producing some cars in the last decade or so that become vehicles that you want to own. Performance machines. They're more attractive. And of course, they've got the Audi Quattro business. So the all-wheel drive has always been appealing, where the BMW sort of lacks that. That up until a few years ago, BMW couldn't match. They didn't have all-wheel drive systems. Now, of course, xDrives and BMWs also are coming out with all-wheel drive cars. But still, really, other than the M5, you can't get all-wheel drive systems in any of the M cars. Whereas the Audis, a lot of the RS models, they're all-wheel drive. And you can enjoy that spectacular performance, and you can enjoy it all year round if you live in snowy conditions. That being said, when you talk about street credibility, BMW owns that. They have a racing history. They have a racing heritage. And they've been around a long time, in the 60s and the 70s, and they've been producing performance cars since almost the beginning of time, hence their name, Ultimate Driving Machine. That name sure is a bit of a marketing ploy, but there is definitely a lot of truth to it. So up until a few years ago, honestly, you sort of had to choose one or the other. You had to choose a BMW because you wanted the credibility, you want the bragging rights, and you wanted that performance M engine or something along those lines. You would choose a Audi because you wanted all-wheel drive systems, that wonderful, glorious Quattro system, and a little bit of a performance tune to it as well. Well, now in the recent years, Audi's upped their game. They've produced more and more performance-based cars that are countering everything in every other brand. Meantime, BMW's been working on all-wheel drive systems to bring that to the table to sort of meet Audi in the middle somewhere. So now the choice is more and more difficult between an Audi and a BMW. You could sort of have, all-wheel drive and performance in either brand for the most part, and so the choice really becomes yours. Which one do you like? The Bavarian Beast? Or do you like the Audi, which honestly shares a lot of parts from the Volkswagen parts bin? And a lot of the parts are shared between many models. Versus BMW's, the engine is designed first, and really the car is designed around the engine. Whereas the Audi, it's sort of the other way around. They create the car, they market it, and then they find a power plant that's consistent with Volkswagen or Audi brand and shoehorn it in that car. So the BMW, like I said, is a little bit more of a focus on the performance, whereas Audi was a little bit more focused on luxury, technology, as well as, of course, that wonderful all-wheel drive system. So they both bring something to the table. They are both spectacularly great brands. You have to make a choice for yourself. Now, coming to my selection, what would I choose if I were to pick out one of these brand new cars? I'm out shopping for a new Audi or a new BMW or a new Benz, of course, as well. Well, to be quite honest, at this point in time, I think I'm going to be going for the BMWs. And that's only because I love the engines and the drivetrains in the current model lineups in the M cars, in the BMWs. I mean, I've driven a lot of these cars now. I've driven some of the Audis. I've driven a lot of the Beamers and some of the Benz. And honestly, I can tell you the BMWs still create a well-sorted, high-performance drivetrain. The M drives are exceptionally fun to drive. The M5 is just monstrously powerful. And now with its all-wheel drive, it matches the RS7. The M4 and the M3 are both great hot rods. Both of them, and the fact that you can get them in a manual stick shift or the dual clutch transmission is very appealing to me. But that engine is just really, really sharp, really torquey, really crisp. And I have to say, I love the M cars. So either way, you can't go wrong, but that's my selection. So I really hope you enjoyed the video, everybody. Hope that shed some light for you. At the end of the day, many choices, many strokes for different folks. Of course, everything brings something to the table. And of course, we're all big boys here. Time to make a choice for yourself. And if you like the video, you make sure you give it a thumbs up. Of course, like, share it with your friends and your social media as well. Hit that little subscribe button down below with the notification bell beside it. Lets you know when the next video shows up. Thanks again, everybody. Mark here signing out with Exotic Car Play Place. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.